I were starting over today, I would not build a brand. I would become the niche. So I built a brand that was synonymous with online courses and then later with the Millionaire Maker. And what I ended up building was a box that operated really well in a previous environment. It was before AI. So, in about 6 months, I believe AI is going to be flooding our feeds. You probably already see it. The other day, I saw this light skinned curly hair girl, and she was cooking a dinner. She looked all sexy in her black robe in a beautiful high rise apartment. And a few seconds in, I was like, wait, this is AI. So, not only am I competing with real life people, but now I'm competing with AI who have infinite time to do anything, show up anywhere. So, we've got about 6 months to establish the things I'm going to talk about in this video so that you have a bulletproof existence because the landscape has truly changed. And the one thing that most millionaires, and I would say all billionaires, have in common is that they treat their life as if it's a movie. They know they are the main character in their movie. So I'll talk about how to use this methodology and this mindset to create your brand, your $1 million story, your offer, and how to attract that most valuable paying audience to you. Because the question is, if your life was a movie, would people be buying tickets to watch it? Would the big studios be writing six-figure checks to fund it and to get it on their platform? All right. So the first step that we need to do in building this bulletproof brand and business that stands the test of time, that stands out in the age of AI and creates your dream life is first, we need to start with our identity. So step one is choose your player. If you grew up with Mortal Kombat, you know that the first step is choosing your player. Who do you want to be in this game? Or you can think of it as the movie where you choose your character because this is your movie and you are the main character in your movie. There's a certain wardrobe. There's a certain script and language you use. There's a way of being, the way you show up. You have certain friend circles and a certain home. So I'm going to walk you through 3 identities, and I want you to be thinking about which of these you identify with most in this season, and think about who your main character is. Who is your identity as you're going to create this $1 million brand, business, all of the above? So the first identity I had was 7-figure Danny. So when I was 7-figure Danny, I was building the brand and I had a wardrobe. I had a uniform. I would wear navy blue, professional tops and gold or yellow, like high-waisted professional looking pants. That was my wardrobe. I had certain behavior. So I had my frameworks that I would always reference. So be thinking about what framework you can have that is the framework you're known for. I was known for my MVC method and I taught it to over 100,000 people on a webinar. I was known for thinking of your customers as MVPs, most valuable payers. I was known for creating tasty content, and that was a framework in and of itself. So think about as if you are aspiring to be the $1 million version of yourself, 8-figure version of yourself, 6-figure version of yourself. What is that framework? Because that is the language. What is that wardrobe and uniform, right? Now, the next identity I had was since 3000 Danny. Oh, and by the way, also the behavior of 7-figure Danny is she was very structured and disciplined. So she had a very strict schedule where she went to bed every night at the same time, woke up at the same time, worked out every day, journaled, meditated, had her team she was managing, did her weekly webinar. So you want to think about what are those behaviors? If we were watching your movie, we would come to know you for certain behaviors, right? Then I became since 3000 Danny. So this is when I was in my otherworldly intergalactic time. I hired a stylist and she helped me think about how can I have my inside match my outside? I'm an Aquarius. So I was very eclectic, creative, and my navy blue and gold wardrobe uniform no longer fit. In my Since 3000 era, I created my podcast, which was the Since 3000 podcast. And my MO was to do hood rat-ish with my friends. And I said, I want to get paid to dress up and sit on the couch next to my very smart and brilliant friends and ask them how they built their 7-figure and 8-figure businesses. So that was Since 3000 Danny. She She was really creative and she didn't have as much structure in her days because she had production schedules. I recorded, I think we did 4 filming days and we were able to record 22 episodes. So that is a very different vibe. She was doing photo shoots, right? She was wearing these long studded gowns. She slicked her hair back and had a pony, right? She was talking about embodying your past, present, and future self now. She was fascinated with our relationship with time. So if you're channeling more of since 3000, Danny, you might be in your more creative era. And I want you to think about who that person is in this movie. The third character was Wealth Danny, right? Wellth, which I talk about a lot on this channel. But how can we create wealth in service of our well being? And with that, I subtracted a lot, right? This is when I had a breast tumor, I had a mastectomy, and I felt like God, spirit, universe was saying, strip everything away that you thought was important and get back to who you are. So show up as your full self. And so I noticed I started wearing more nude colored, muted kind of clothes. I simplified my wardrobe, moved to Bali. When you're in your movie, you're thinking about what is my setting for this movie that I'm in? What are the backdrops that I'm going to be sharing in my videos? What is the vibe I'm going to be giving off on my client calls, right? Now, one character I want to talk about that I'm embracing that I think will be really, really relevant for you is my inner villain. So I'm enrolled in a villain challenge with Vanessa Aldrich, who I went to college with at UC Berkeley. And in the villain challenge, we are challenging what people think the villain is, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, I'm in my villain era. It's not surface level villain. We're talking about deep villain. The villain version of you is confronting the insecurities that the hero version of you has. So if you think about any movie, the hero is the one who has doubts, they have insecurities, they're looking for a guide to take them on the hero's journey. They're not sure about themselves, they might be a little sloppy, they're figuring things out. Whereas the villain, think about Dracula. Dracula's lair is immaculate. Like that man or woman or they wake up at 2 a.m. every day and they are like, I have a mission and I am not going to sleep until my mission is complete. They command their team. Everyone knows about their mission. He's got the curly Q hairstyle. He's got his uniform. You know exactly what Dracula is all about. So when you're thinking about your villain, for me, my villain character is someone who is not afraid of appearing dumb or mediocre or imperfect, but she owns it. She says, I'm going to show up as I am and know that they're here to watch my movie. So when you think about who your villain character is, I'll give you how I've kind of personified her. So she is 25-year-old Danny with the wisdom of 100-year-old Danny, which means 25-year-old Danny, she would take risks. She would know that life is not short, life is long, which means the decisions I make today, I will have to live with until I choose different. She has less ego and way more audacity because she doesn't feel beholden to a brand, a box that she's created for herself, where the world is like, uh-oh, like she's got to do online courses. That's all she's got to do. So she is more fluid and she knows that in today's market, it's about being authentic and living and sharing who you are, as you're evolving, because your most valuable payers are going to be inspired by you being in flow. This 25-year-old Danny is in the season of giving less F's. We are in the season of giving less F's. I give less F's every single day, which allows me to show up as my word of the year, which is audacious. I show up with audacity. Another thing that my villain is doing is shifting from this masculine archetype. So when I was the CEO of my 7-figure, 8-figure business, I was in my masculine and it was all about I've got to have these specific standards. I need to show up and I need to set specific, I've got to do by any means necessary. I have to work myself to the bone. I have to. In the feminine archetype, I'm more about receiving. And instead of being rewarded for what I can do for you, I want to be and I am going to be rewarded for who I am and who I inspire you to be. And this is where the landscape is shifting. I had a conversation with the spiritual advisor in 2019, right before COVID. And she said, we are shifting from the Newtonian age, where money is currency, to the quantum age, where well being is currency. What that means is you are being rewarded for who you are and for the energy you give off to people. So when you are showing up in an inspiring state, you're going to inspire most valuable payers who are going to pay you with attention, time, and money, that high dollar. And we're going to get to it in a second, how you're going to generate income from this persona, from this identity, what all millionaires and billionaires are doing. But you are enrolling people in your vision that is all about the energy exchange. So previously, I was building a business. Now I'm building a movie. I am creating a movie. All right. So now I'm writing a book. And instead of being a business operator, I am a creator and storyteller. So, what season are you in? What identity is speaking to you? And who is your inner villain? How can you become the Dracula, the icon of your industry, who knows your stuff, who is not afraid to speak to the controversial, unpopular opinions, who's not afraid to confront your most valuable payer about their insecurities and what's stopping them from moving forward. So I'm going to write it out. Like, who is your inner villain? What do you look like when you are showing up as her? What is her wardrobe? Okay, think about Miranda in Devil Wears Prada. Okay. Devil Wears Prada. She knew her stuff. She said cerulean is not just blue. Okay. That sweater you're wearing, that decision was made for you 4 seasons ago. Like, Miranda dressed the part. She knew her stuff, right? She was truly the villain. So ask yourself, what does that look like? Because most millionaires and definitely every billionaire is embracing their inner villain. So after we have our identity, the second I is your influence. So you are going to choose your audience and the supporting cast for your movie. So who is the audience for your movie? All right, think about Sinners, right? With Michael B. Jordan. Sinners was very specific about who this movie was for, and they were very specific about their audience. In fact, they had people buying out movie theaters in droves because they said, this story is for me. They are speaking controversial truths in this movie. I need to go see it. They had movie studios bidding on it. Oh gosh, I don't remember how much it grossed, but it was one of the most profitable movies for Warner Brothers, I believe, for whatever studio. I think it was Warner Brothers, right? It was because they were specific about who is my audience and who is the supporting cast, right? The thing I like to think about is the only difference between me and Trump or Elon is that they just have more people watching their movie. They just have a bigger audience watching their movie, but we are the same. The only difference is they have more people watching their movie. So my mission every day is, how can I have more people tuning into my movie? Because I am the main character in my movie. A lot of people think they are extras in the movie that Trump and Elon are producing and starring in. They think they're extras in their movie. And the reality is that when you think you're an extra in somebody else's movie, you are allowing them to get as much or as little screen time as you allow them to. So I said, I'm giving them less screen time, and I'm remembering that this is my movie, and I'm going to ask myself, where can I spread my influence to my specific audience? And who is my supporting cast? So when I was Seven Figure Danny, my audience were women who knew about tech, who had TEDx talks, who were published authors. But I asked myself, who do I want to be in community and fellowship with? Because these are about to not only be my clients, but they're going to be my best friends. And that came to fruition. If I open up my group chats, it is filled with my previous clients because I asked myself, who is that ideal audience? These are my highest payers. And it inspired me to show up as that seven figure Danny, right? For Since 3000 Danny, my supporting cast was my podcast producer. And she sat me down and she said, what story do you want to tell? How can we help our guests tap into their past, present, and future selves? So that was a completely different Danny with a completely different supporting cast, right? And then for Wealth Danny, I said, I am writing my book, I'm telling my story. So I did a TEDx talk. So my supporting cast became the TEDx Inglewood crew. My supporting cast became speakers who I scheduled one-on-one calls with, and I paid them to consult me on my talk. I'm writing my book. So I invested in Rachel Rodgers' $1 Million Author Retreat. She's a really good friend of mine. And I said, girl, I'm coming, because she has generated 7 figures in book advances and from her royalties. I'm writing my book. I'm going to get the supporting cast that can support that character in that movie. So I want you to write this down. Who is in your supporting cast for this movie? Who are your MVPs, your most valuable payers? How are you going to have influence? Who is your audience in this season? So our third I is income. All right. We are building businesses here. We are becoming the movie that everybody is paying to see. We're going to have these VIP packages that people are paying hundreds of dollars just to do a meet and greet with us. We are going to have movie studios bidding on our movie. So what you need to do in step 3 is choose your package. All right. When you're selling a movie, there is a story arc for your character. You are the main character. What is your story arc? All right. I've spoken on this channel about my story arc, right? Generating 25 million from online courses and products, building this brand, investing a lot in coaches because of my insecurities, because of my self-esteem, because of my people pleasing, and then ending up with a tumor and having a mastectomy, stripping it all away, moving to Bali. That is my story arc, right? And I'm in a new season of my show, right? So you want to think about what is your story arc that you're going to be sharing, and then you are going to package it into something that people can buy, because people are going to buy into your story arc. This is how we set ourselves apart from AI. AI don't have no story arc. Okay, AI is just popping up like the girl in my feed, looking all perfect. You have a story arc. You have life experiences that you have overcome, and you've got to share those. And you want to think about your package as a movie has color grading, it has a setting, right? That is fitting to your movie, to your story. What is the underlying theme? For me in this season, it is tell the truth. It is help people be seen in your story. What is your underlying theme? And when you put your package together, you want your most valuable payers to be seen in that movie. So for Seven Figure Danny, my package was my premium course from scratch program. It was that $2,000 program, which was a package. And the package said, when you buy this package and I hand it over to you, you now have in this box the key to getting to know your $1 million story and turning that into an online course that you can get paid for, right? That was the package. And then it elevated to since 3000 when I did my podcast. I now had a season that I could sell, and I ended up pre-selling. So before I even dropped episode 1, I emailed my list and I said, "Would you like to become an advertiser?" In other words, I'm selling my movie to people, right? I'm going to be talking about helping people embrace their past, present, and future selves. I'm going to be interviewing these millionaires on my show. Do you want to be an ad on this? Do you want to be associated with these brands? And we were able to make $125,000 in podcast sponsorship before we even dropped episode 1, right? So that was my package that I was selling. Going back to Seven Figure Danny, she started with a $2,000 package, and then it graduated to my $18,000 package, which was my advanced program. So I handed over to you a package that said, when you buy this, you will now know how to create your own webinar. You'll now know how to run ads. You'll know how to automate it, right? You'll know how to scale to 7 figures. And you'll know how to go from working 80-hour weeks to 10-hour weeks. That was the package. And then it elevated to a $65,000 mastermind, my CEO circle. And that was the next package. And that package just followed my most valuable payers along in their journey. Okay. Now, with Wealth Danny, my new package is my book. And so I am brainstorming and talking with other authors and looking at people. So I just came back from the UK. I supported my friend who's also a client in his live book launch. So I got to be there. I got to be paid to learn how do you launch a book in today's landscape. And it was a live broadcast for 4 hours, and he was able to get 5,000 copies sold of his book. And that is enough to qualify for the Sunday Times bestseller. If you're based in the States, it's the equivalent of the New York Times bestseller. But in the UK, they have the Sunday Times bestseller. And so he is now going to be on the Sunday Times bestseller list. I got to see what that looks like. So now my package, which is going to be my book, is not just going to be buying a book, but I will have other packages associated with it that are not just a $20 book, but there will be $200 packages, $2,000 packages, $20,000 potentially packages that are aligned with the Wealth Danny, that are aligned with this book. So when you're thinking about the packages you are creating, this is your movie based on your story arc. The richer and more detailed your story arc, the more you know that you are the main character, the more you are casting that supporting cast, the more you are consulting with people who have done it before, the richer your package, and the more that people will pay to be in proximity. Because when you hand over that box, they will know this is going to lead to my transformation.
All right, so the fourth and final I is impact. So step 4 is you are going to choose your legacy. Your legacy is going to shift depending on the identity and the season you're in. So when I was six figure Danny, my legacy was I want to become seven figure Danny. I want to make $1 million. I want to know what that is like. And then I want to keep going from there. In wealth Danny, my legacy became best-selling authors. I'm like, I want to be a best-selling author. And even more, I want to be a celebrity brand. So I'm going to share with you something that I haven't shared publicly, but my word for this year is audacity. So my audacious goal with this book is that I will have people read it and it will be so salacious and so rich with my story arc that it will get picked up for a Netflix series and I will be elevated to a celebrity brand. This is what I mean by creating your movie, knowing that you are starring in your movie. I am breaking out of, I'm just the brand Danielle Leslie online courses, but how can I have my story arc be so rich that my package becomes elevated, that it can be turned into an actual movie? Now, another thing I did to define my legacy is I created a 100-year vision with ChatGPT. And I was inspired by actually the passing of my aunt. So my auntie Monique passed away last year and it was unexpected. And when she passed away, my mom was writing her obituary. And that inspired me to write my own obituary. So I said, if I were to pass, what would I want that to read like? And I wrote in some of my goals in ChatGPT and I said, these are some of the things that I see myself accomplishing over my lifetime. How would Beyonce read my obituary in her words? What would she say? And I can do another video on this if you'd like. Let me know, and I can read the actual obituary. But it was so beautiful for me to see that the future me had already created this legacy, and it helped me reorient my identity, my influence, my income, right? The people I was surrounded myself by, the story that I was telling myself every day, the movie that I was living in. So I encourage you to take that step of spending some time with ChatGPT and creating your 100-year vision. And one thing that can help you realize this 100-year vision and make it a reality is these morning visualization sessions. So a couple of years ago, I joined this crypto and Lord, it was the Crypto and Consciousness Collective in LA. And this is where I was with a couple billionaires in this group. And we teamed up, there was a few of us, and we teamed up to do these morning visualization sessions. So we wrote out a narrative a year from now. So we said it is 1 year from now when we set the specific date, and I'm waking up, and we would narrate our entire day in the life of ourselves a year from now. That was in alignment with that future vision. And we would say, I'm waking up and my love is next to me and he gives me a kiss on the cheek and this is what he looks like, this is what he smells like, and I wake up and I stretch and I go and I'm filming my podcast that day and this person is coming to be a guest, and it was very specific. I open up my Bitcoin and I've got 4 million in there. It's grown and my contributions are growing every day. I open up my Stripe account and I see that we just got another 100K that crossed yesterday. My book sales have just crossed 500,000 in just the last year. I've got this person, and I would list specific people reaching out because they want to be on my show, on my podcast. I have this conference that's reaching out that wants me to speak. Like, I walked through my day a year from that day every morning. And in that period, in that 30-day period, I generated $100,000 and it was light work. I was able to create new products within our Course from Scratch community. Our main coach, she created custom GPTs, which, by the way, this is available if you want. You can get the Course from Scratch bundle and it comes with these free AI tools. We developed new tools that, so we were able to innovate, but it was all because of these morning visualization sessions. So I want you to take some time and write down a year from now, what is that? I want you to narrate it in excruciating detail and team up with a couple friends and do this morning visualization session where each of you take turns and you walk through a day in the life and just see how quickly you reach these goals. So if I was starting over today, I would see the reality that AI is about to flood our feeds. It's already happening. And I would know that the way to stand out is to start not only building a brand, but creating a movie,
stepping into my storytelling, creating that story arc and sharing it every day. So I would choose my player or choose my main character of my movie. What is the name of my movie? And then who is my audience? I would choose my audience. Who are those MVPs, most valuable payers? And who is my supporting cast? Are there certain people I want to hire or pay to consult me for an hour because they've already done it? Who can I put myself in proximity for? And then I would take audacious action. So the thing is, I would be posting about my story arc every day. I would post audaciously, kind of like how I'm doing here on YouTube, right? This is a new practice for me because this is me knowing we're in the future already. So I want to encourage you to embrace the imperfection. I've said this in previous videos. Do it ugly, do it often, do it better. So do it ugly is the new version of done is better than perfect. I want you to wake up. I want you to put that camera on and share your story arc. I want you to speak directly to your most valuable payers and do it on whatever platform you're comfortable with. That might be here on YouTube, which I love long form YouTube. But if it's LinkedIn, do it there. If it's TikTok, do it there. If it's Instagram, do it there. If it's Threads, do it there. But start sharing your story arc so you can have more people watching your movie. Do it audaciously. You can always archive or delete later. Then I would choose my package and make it premium. So do that. Spend the time to write out what is your premium package that you want your MVPs to buy into. When you hand them over that package, it will be a package of transformation. And I have another video on how to make $1 million in the next year, and another video on how to create your 10K offer from scratch that walks you through the steps on how to do this. And then lastly, choose your legacy. How do you want to be remembered? So if this were a movie, which it is, if this were your movie and we were watching your movie, what would we be screaming at the screen right now for you to do next? When you are passing, hopefully 100 years or more from now, that you don't want to be there regretting. You don't want to be there wondering, what if I had started sooner? What if I had started creating my story arc and being honest and truthful about it? What would have been different? Instead, we are screaming at you from the audience. We're in the AMC theater. We're watching your movie and we're screaming something at you to do now. Do that now. This is what all the billionaires are doing. They know they're in a movie of their own making. They know they are not extras in someone else's movie. This is what most millionaires are doing. And I want you to embrace that now. So I would love to hear in the comments anything that you want to share that's coming up for you around your identity, around the player you are choosing, the character you're choosing for your movie, right? That supporting cast, the legacy you want to leave. I want to hear about it all in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.